We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back. That still has a nice beat to it. Still seated twerking to bounce. New Year. And that song still has a vibe in 2025. Also, it's time for a new intro. I am in with a podcast change. I added the F.A.A.F.O to it. But I'm back with the same formula that has allowed me to be successful in the past. I've set realistic intention. I plan on being present and following through, but I still intend to remain petty and hold grudges. Not all intentions need to be positive. Also, I will be unengaged and unbothered by people and things in my life that do not serve me. That means parasitic people, unsolicited judgments, biased newspapers, and mainstream banks. I will not apologize for maintaining my mental peace. Happy and unbothered and at peace because I'm at unbothered. All day, every day, being unbothered is my way. Join me. Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. So take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Where's to know and where's to grow, a temporal rainbow. I can be anything. So take a look, it's in a book, a tenfold rainbow. A tenfold rainbow. A tenfold rainbow. Holly girl, you're in danger, girl. I ripped that directly from the lips of what's her name? Sealy. Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost. And this is, I think it's apropos, don't you think, that I'm talking about Holly Gibney, the venerable PI of Finders Keepers in Stephen King's book, Holly. First, I didn't know she is a reoccurring character in many of his latest books. And I also get why he continues to be top of his game and on the top of the New York Times bestsellers list. And also why I broke up with the New York Times. I think there are so many great books. There are so many authors that need to be highlighted, but I can't continue to pay a whole $40-$50 a month for the Gray Lady when the rest of the newspaper is trash. I think after this last election, the lack of unbiased coverage of the war in Gaza, and it is a war and it is a genocide, all that's going on in Ukraine, the dastardly deeds of the dude from Russia. I'm good on the New York Times. I don't need to hold it in my hands or the ephemeral effects of, because I like the feel of paper, especially what the New York Times used to mean. I just don't like what it's become. But even in spite of the New York Times and its issues, the book review could not have put a better author to the top of, who's still at the top of his game. Over 20, 30 books in, he's still writing really good stuff. And how did I become familiar with Stephen King? I started reading Stephen King when I was in the 4th grade. Should all 9-year-olds read Firestarter, Salem's Lot, or Roots, or even Mandingo? No, they should not. Should they be included in the the Newtown Road Elementary School library? Probably not. But this is way before anybody cared about a small elementary school in Virginia Beach. Nobody was blacklisting or banning books at that time. And who paid attention to what a little nappy-head black girl was reading? My mama didn't. Reverend Williams did, because don't try to skip prayer service or the collection just to sit on the stairs at Morning Star Baptist Church just to read a book. He's going to call you out, and you're going to get in trouble for reading a book that you got from your grandmama who, how did I get that book, or where did I get that book from? Mandingo I actually got from the stack of books that my grandmother, who was a maid for some white people also in Virginia Beach, they would just pack up a whole bunch of books, and she would take a whole bunch of stuff home. She used to take home clothes, she used to take home books, etc. That was one of the books, but nobody noticed that I, at the time, who was probably not even 9 years old at that time, was reading that. But I got busted out by Reverend Williams, but that's neither here nor there. Stephen King, Firestarter, that was actually after I read that book, after the movie came out. So go figure. Also, I think I may have gone to the drive-in movie and saw Firestarter at the drive-in at the time, which was still in Norfolk. The very few times when my parents were still speaking to each other. Or was it Poltergeist? It was one of them, because I knew my mom was into horror movies. And that was back in the day where nobody saw it as weird about pigs or some type of animal blood being poured on a teenager, and the partial nudity scenes that it opened up with. But that's a whole nother story. We're not talking about the evolution of Stephen King per se in his depiction of women. But what I will say is his evolution of interweaving current events in with this book has taken on a certain joie de vivre. I believe he's probably pissed off of the current results of this past election, because one of the things it is obvious is his distaste for the MAGA dude, and his consternation with MAGA maggots. I'm sure as a venerable New Englander, he probably has some of them within his own family. It wouldn't surprise me if his own son or one of his own children is a MAGA maggot. And this probably is so discouraging, and it's so confusing to a state liberal. But he also tries to understand where he calls, because the part of the book that I'm actually going to be reading later on today, and I'll probably comment on next week, is the next chapter is the Harrises are viewing January 6th. They called the maggot and his followers. And that is a great lead-in, I think, to describe, because what in this part of the section of what I'm reading, and Holly by Stephen King, is just a breakdown of his characters. He actually writes villains like no other that I've ever described. And I'm just going to read from you the summary of what Holly is about. Penny Doll calls Finders Keepers Detective Agency, hoping for help locating her missing daughter, Bonnie Ray. Holly Gibney is reluctant to accept the case. Her partner, Pete, has COVID. And actually, Holly Gibney's mother has just passed away. Guess what? She was a COVID denier, went to a rally, a super spreader rally, contracted COVID, and they basically denied COVID until they put her on a respirator when she died of probably fulminant sepsis. Holly is meant to be on leave, but something in Penny's desperate voice makes it impossible to turn her down. The other characters, the main characters of the book, are the villains, Rodney and Emily Harris. They are the picture of bougie respectability. They're married octogenarians. For those of you that do not own a dictionary, that means they're well into their 80s. They're devoted to each other, semi-retired, and lifelong academics. They are harboring a shocking and unholy secret in the basement of their well-kept, book-lined home, one that may be related to Bonnie's disappearance. Who are these hoes? They are a deadly foe de deux. Holly pursues her case to the gates of hell figuratively. There's no supernatural element in this powerful exploration of grief and delusion, just pure, undistilled evil. And evil in itself, I think, is something supernatural, because these people, the Harrises, exist and are supervillains. They basically are nondescript. They have been hunting for years. They've been capturing people, hunting them like animals, and duping them into helping them, because they come off as, Emily has sciatica, but they actually eat livers or different body parts and brain cells. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they and her husband, she's an English professor. The husband is a nutritionist and a life scientist, biologist. I think they have found, or through their research, have found the source of human stem cells, and they are using, because they value their life. Don't get it twisted. They value their lives, but they don't value others. They only value other human lives about what other humans can give to them and to support their longevity. They know when they ate Stinky Steinman's brain and his body parts, Emily felt better, because she went from being in a wheelchair to being able to stalk her prey out of the wheelchair. And that's how they basically lured, I believe, Bonnie Ray into their clutches, because they had to figure out during the time of COVID that how they were going to go on the hunt and how they were going to get their next victim. They basically found a way to lure potential people, because they were on semi-lockdown, evidently, in their town at this time. They couldn't have a real Christmas party, but Bonnie fell in their lap because she basically was hired by them to actually serve at their party. And she would go on to, I'm sure, potentially service their need. I don't think, at this point, I'm early on in the book, and the story is such, and I think the rhythm of the story is now starting to pick up, and that's how I found out sometimes what happened in a Stephen King book. Can start out slow, take me a minute to get into, and then I start getting into it. This is the rhythm of the story by the time by the time Holly from the detective agency is hired, and then she starts investigating this. We started finding out about other people, not only the people that have gone missing prior in previous years. We found out the lead up to Bonnie Ray's disappearance. We also find out the tragic lack of relationship with Holly and her crazy ass mama, who it sounds like she was left an inheritance. This is Holly, that is. The mother lied to her years prior, for whatever reason, that has not been revealed to us, that her inheritance was lost to her by a highfalutin financial advisor. Come to find out, after the mother passes away and the funeral's over, the mother's lawyer contacts Holly and lets her know, oh yeah, by the way, your mama was rich as hell. And she was like, yeah, no, she wasn't. Her money was stolen, and this guy went away to parts unknown. No, he didn't. She basically was worth about $6 million large, and you stand to inherit some more millions when your crazy uncle dies. If he dies before he exhausts his inheritance, because he's in the locked Alzheimer unit upstate. Okay. I'm wondering why her mother lied to her. Probably just not only to control her, but also so she would not use the money in a manner that the mother didn't approve of, which is really controlling. And it's really passive aggressive. And I always go back to Stephen King writes a good Karen. It is amazing, and it doesn't surprise me, but it did kind of surprise me that this is one of the many books that this particular PI is in, but his female white Caucasian characters are complicated, and they are Karen. They all have Karen tendencies, but they also have some redeeming qualities, and I'm hopeful. They're asexual, but they're all sexually frustrated, and it lends itself to the layers of characters within the book, within Stephen King's book, that is. It also lends itself to how Stephen King, his character arc. Back in the day, a lot of his characters and the villains were men and women of their day. And it's obvious that he has liberal leanings. The villains in this story may not be MAGA-Maggots, but they're sympathizers. They are bigots, they're homophobic, and their downfall is almost welcome. They have some supernatural, they're so evil, they embody such evil, even though he doesn't speak to the supernatural, and it may be agnostic or a downright atheist. He does make them so evil they become something else, not of this world. But if evil were in its purest form, it is usually always about his villains. And these villains are on some F-ish, meaning they are one of the husbands of life sciences. She is educated English professor, but they only see life or people as only how they can be used for their benefit, not for the general benefit of humanity. Holly, as I said, she is has Karen tendencies, complicated relationship with her mother, but it's more deeper than just the service adversarial mother-daughter stuff. And even the supporting cast, Jerome, who is another part-time investigator, is fine, but he's a procrastinator. Vera, who is Stinky's mom, is a practice drunk. That means she's good for putting on a brave face and a mask of makeup, but she can drink, but drinks herself under the table just to survive the loneliness and the space left and the hole left in her life by the disappearance of her son, who is dead and whose brains were eaten by these college professors. Even Ellen Kraslow, it seems like she's maybe the only that we know of, that we've only been privy to, who is vegan and is the only black female that they kidnap, and they try to coerce her to eat liver or calf liver, I'm sure at that time, but I was wondering whose liver was that. And they basically killed her because she got on their nerves because she basically refused to, she took back her power and as much as she could in that situation by being held captive. I'm not eating this liver because it's not that crucial for me to bend to your will. And I also think she also knew how to fast to try to control her wantings because she was not going to give them the power to make her eat something that she knew she was not. If she was vegan, and how dare you? And it was like, so how, she was like, nanny, nanny, boo, boo, you ain't making me eat that congealed liver mess. I ain't eating it. And I also know it's pissing you off and I'm taunting you in a calm manner. I'm not begging. I'm not doing anything to give you any power over this situation. So they had to cap her because, no cap, no lie. She got on their nerves. How dare this black woman this is the Harrises, they saw her as an animal and beneath them. How dare you take back your power and basically control your own narrative? That's dope. And that's why why I'm now hooked and I'm planning on continue to investigate the character arcs of many of the full latitude of this book until the end without any copyright infringement.
To my homegirl Naquita J. Elmore, Najee. Lift every chair and swing till all them white folks scream. Thought y'all could run up on our black king. I'm glad the squad pulled up, dedicated to Nuck if you buck. May it resound loud as the rolling sea. Throw your hats high in the air until Unc comes with the chair. Swim the seas until our cousins come and they rescue me. Let this be a lesson to y'all. Remember the Montgomery Brawl, where white folks fucked around and they...
Why do I pledge myself to running Bank of America, Walmart, Harbor Freight, or the likes pockets? And how do you run their pockets? Well, if you notice and you learn that whatever their price of their stock is may be bloated, and you see others exiting ownership of those stocks, you may be set for the opportune moments to get on some get back. Why that? And why talk about that in woke history? I've been a little annoyed by all this talk of DEI being blamed for the attack on Trump. There wasn't no attack because if he had been a marksman, they would have got his ass. I'm tired of people saying they really don't want us to buy from their stores. People like, what is his name? Ed's the meat dude here in town. They rolling back DEI. They're saying we're being blamed for things like the fires that are ravaging Southern California. And I'm just tired. I'm tired. They will rather vote for now a convicted felon dumbass instead of a Howard educated black woman, attorney general. It's sickening. And you going to want us to drop everything that we're doing to get you out of the shit show dumpster fire that's about to happen over the next decade? Yeah, good. Nah, I'm good. I also truly, firmly believe, although I can't prove it, big banks are on some F-ish. They really are. And you can't tell me with someone of my credit score, and not only do you not probably want me to be in this house where I am now in Chattanooga, y'all don't want me to access the equity that is built into this house like a fire. Property prices or worth have increased in my area dramatically since the COVID epidemic. And I think they're going to take another price hike as people have to evacuate the West, and they're going to be forced to come out here. Y'all going to keep making up stuff to keep people out of, between insurers and these big banks are trying to keep people out of the American dream, which actually is home ownership, but also is accessing home equity while they're alive. I don't have any kids. I just have a mealy mouth spoiled dog, Ethel, who's looking at me like I'm crazy, who is going to inherit a whole bunch of money, and she has never worked a day in her life except my nerves. But I tried to access the significant amount of equity that's in my home. Bank of America saw that I had a personal loan I took out to do some other home improvement. And I thought it was fascinating that, number one, the people of the personal loan is not really a lien. It's something called a UPC inquiry. But Bank of America make it seems like a lien. And they're like, no, well, you have, and they basically took the lowest as far as valuation of the home, even though I had done all the upgrades to the home. Bank of America and other big banks similarly, Wells Fargo and other these big banks are trash. And I'm unknowingly in part of the black movement. I had no idea. I was looking up online because I needed to see where I could actually move my assets. And I was looking at several banks. One of those banks was One United. Come to find out, they are the largest black-owned and black-run bank in the country. Kevin Cohey is chairman and CEO, and he's a brother. I like his fade. His hair is nice and lined up. One of the things that struck me about this bank is the welcome letter. It says, and I think I'm probably going to post this on my website too. Our future depends on our ability to organize our collective political, social, and financial resources. Better yet, y'all can hit the AI-driven transcript of this podcast and get these words exactly yourself, but I digress. We must not only protect our civil rights, but also create new economic opportunities for everyone to achieve the American dream. Technology creates an unprecedented opportunity for us to organize on the scale and speed we need to be effective. As you know, by joining the Bank Black movement, you become part of both a grassroots and a technology-driven nationwide effort to organize our money. Our forefathers and foremothers have known since the end of slavery that the key to our success is garnering our spending power and rechanneling it back into our communities. We had the 1921 race riots or massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where they basically burned down one one of the Black Wall Street, because there's also Beale Street. There's also what was that other street? And this place is not even, I had no idea this place was even in Tennessee until I actually looked it up. Let's see. Looking up stuff with food. People see my search history, they just know I'm a big old fat girl. But in 1866, there was another massacre. Basically, they burned down a large part of Memphis, just because there was a confrontation between Irish, white, right after the Civil War. There was an influx of us into Memphis. We basically, when Memphis was blackety black, we had grocery stores, funeral homes, because we were exiting slavery. We don't have a Juneteenth. As soon as we were freed, deuces to the man. Built our communities up, started voting, registering people to vote with X, signing their name, even in spite of the poll taxes. But there was a bunch of people had beef with the Irish white cops in Memphis, and vigilantes saw it upon themselves. Say, okay, I'm going to take it upon myself. I deputize myself in the name of racism, and I'm going to burn up some houses and businesses just because they have what I don't have, and they're black and they don't deserve it. Okay. Nobody knows about this history because nobody's really talking about it. But that actually happened. That was 1866. Fast forward not even 100 years, we have more riots. We have more massacres where they burned up Tulsa, because nobody wants us to have anything. So we got to play it. What are the ways that we can play it smart? What other ways? And I think Kevin Cohey and his cohorts at One United Bank has pinpointed something. Technology is going to create is presenting itself as an unprecedented opportunity. As places in their DEI programs, Walmart and other distributors and big boxes integrate their ethnic hair and health and beauty sections. As Macy's, one of the biggest stores to have black-owned brands, start shuttering some 2,000 stores. As we see our present being contracted, who is going to keep those products available? I'm not saying that we don't need the actual Black Wall Streets where it is actually a stayed and store, because I do believe in Black-owned property, because that is how you create generational wealth. But at the same time, we have to take advantage of who actually has the capacity to actually have warehouses where they can actually buy up all the surplus goods, still make them available third party. Not have these fire sales, because as Walgreens and the CVS's and the Rite Aids close up their usual storefronts in our communities. But those products, we still need them. They still need to make money, and they still should be available. Who actually is buying up the surplus goods and still making it available? Even though it's not on the integrated shelves of the Walmarts anymore, fine. Because when you integrate us, we basically we're integrated out of existence. Because some of these wholesale, these deals the people have, they are not going to reorder your product if your product is not selling. Nobody is going. Number one, the other big brands like the L'Oreal's are not going to want to share space with y'all because nobody wants us to buy our own products because it's competition. And unfairly so, they can actually have exclusivity deals where they don't want our products next to them. So we're vinegrated to back in the back or on the bottom shelf and behind some stuff or mixed in and not given precedence, and nobody knows that we even exist. You can't keep those deals if you don't make the sales, but you can't make the sales if nobody knows your product is there. That is the problem with some of these product deals. And if they shutter the store, oh well, then that is another hit to your bottom line. So fine. You don't want us on their shelves. You're going to make it so hard that nobody sees or buys our product because you don't even have to stock our product. Then fine. Go to the Buy Black websites. Somebody, if you have a warehouse, buy up all the surplus and make it available and make it shipping. Either use their shipping technology to get the product out to the people that actually want it. You don't even have to have a fire sale. I saw something online where it was a Shop Black with a website, and I really like this female, and I'm probably going to embed her post from Instagram on my website or in the show notes. But they were talking about how a rose oil usually is priced at $15.69, but it was on sale at Walgreens for $1.69. And it was because that Walgreens was in the process of shuttering it, because there's a reorganization that's going around in a lot of these stores, in a lot of these lines, where not only are they integrating us, trying to integrate us into their health and beauty again, but they are actually closing up where we're not even going to be available because the stores are closing up in our communities. So how do you fix that? We still need to be available on the Shop Black websites. We got to know what these brands are. We got to have access to them. And we got to be, if we're going to shop Black, you got to still make it available and ship our shit out. If I pay for it, I don't mind shopping with you. But if I pay for something and primarily is because you're African American and you're doing good work, please just send my product and don't make it so hard that nobody answers the phone, nobody answers emails, not even AI. How about that? So, Bank Black and Shop Black, it is going to be a reality because the days are getting very closer, and it's a reality. We're going to have to go back to how it was in the civil rights days, where now that I know these products are available and I know who's actually making quality products, I'm going to have to go directly to the producer, because there is no incentive with all these rollbacks and the change in administration. The days of where we are celebrated are over, and we got to now celebrate ourselves and support our own community. Not just the usual conventional storefront, but technology has allowed us to create our own Black Wall Street, even in the cloud. Even though y'all don't want us there, we still coming in the cloud. We're a messy bunch, the Shady Bunch, the Shady Bunch. I hope for checks is worth being part of the Shady Bunch. Why y'all acting like y'all know these people? Why y'all being so shady, demanding somebody get fired because they go to rehab instead of showing up to a Shady reunion. Girl, bye. Y'all ain't signing nobody check. You're not Kingdom Reign Productions, and you sure ain't working as Andy Cohen. So sit down and have many seats. I've been thinking about that for a while. I've found out. Y'all being so shady, demanding some. This is a new year, but the same old me. I resolve to remain petty and hold grudges, but I also resolve to be a better fan of these reality TV shows. My expectations are very simple. I'm going to realize that I had to reset my realizations and expectation of these reality shows are. If the reality show has a storyline of being shady, showcasing toxic men and toxic relationships, and then they trying to present something different, but their toxicity always bleeds through, and that's what you were hired to do, that is going to have to be my expectations. I'm not going to expect them to be perfect, happy-go-lucky, but if they don't deliver on the mess, that's when I'm going to have a problem. I'm not going to set the expectation where I'm going to demand they be fired if they're too messy or they're too much of something. When they understand the assignment and they give me the assignment and they clock in, that's what they were hired to do. But if you want to renege and then claim that you were triggered and you're not being protected, but girl, why were you hired then? Did you read the contract that you signed? Why did you want to flip the script? Why is it a 2 and a possible? Y'all the worst. Some of these reality stars are the worst spades player on the planet. Why is it a 2 with the possible 1 of the storyline? I get it. These storylines are only sound bites of your life. These production companies are only down for short periods of time. We don't see anything outside of what we actually are presented with on the screen. And again, I ain't signing nobody's check. None of the production company from Real Housewives of Potomac to any of the iterations of Love and Marriage to even the Bell Collective. I don't know these people. I'm not an executive producer. I don't control the storyline. I only know and will comment on. As a fan, will know and comment on what I see. My power lies into what my opinion is, and if I choose to watch it. Other than that, I ain't got nothing else to say. Right, wrong, or indifferent, Carlos King is brilliant. We need to stop tripping because we are raindrops. We are not rainmakers. We don't sign that brother's checks. We are not overworking at OWN. We need to stay in our lane. He worked for the Bravo shows, still talk about the Bravo shows because it pushes him to his shows. Let that man get his bag and stop trying to dictate what you ain't got no reason to dictate. Right, wrong, or... And that's all I got to say about that.
And me.
So the thing is this, and in the words of Carlos King, let's have a real conversation.
Like she a damn child.
It appears to me that you are fine moving forward with Selena, but JJ isn't.
I am. I really am.
And you are doing the right thing, making things right with another woman, and you got chastised for it. That's how it appeared to me. And I do wonder, is JJ really the one preventing the two of you from moving on?
I don't think it's Jay. Well, at first, my husband was really against me having a conversation with her. And even like when I did talk to her in New Orleans, I was like, my husband ain't messing with you on no levels. And like, she still wants to smoke. I might throw my little jabs
I'm the one who, in real life, didn't want to be. You done set the damn stage.
You are a 4th of July holiday. You are Katy Perry fireworks.
You're right. I am throwing out the mix.
But I'm not going to lie. I do feel just from the dynamics,
It does look like JJ gets in your ear, and that's just being honest.
I said that.
I mean, he probably do get to my, yeah. I mean, that's my husband.
Listen, what needs to happen, Selena, for you guys
I've
to
done my part. My children has done their part. It's her and her husband.
But I don't think it's her.
Selena has told me, Carlos, he doesn't want them to have any type of relationship.
Why?
And it might be because of things that she may share with her.
And I think that's it.
And that she may actually, they may have a good relationship and she may share some things with her. We don't know.
You do feel like Jay-Z's afraid of you two getting close
It
in the
has to be.
event you guys compare notes. Is
Yes,
that what it is?
That's what I'm thinking.
I think what has happened is JJ is the common denominator in you two not being able to move forward because your husband did not like the fact that his wife and the mother of his kids hugged it out. You know what I mean?
And he was so right. That was Carlos King. This is the reunion, the second part of the reunion for Bell Collective. And I am differing, and I'm basing my opinion on a couple of things. First, the men on Bell Collective and every iteration of marriage, love and marriage, are some of the douchiest men I've ever seen in my life. Let me put that. Let's just start there. But this animosity between Selena and So Gucci, and now that we know that So Gucci and Akeisha probably more so in solidarity, they're not coming back next season, even though it's been renewed. I think Selena understood the assignment. Selena she was not ready to come on the Bell Collective. She should have been on there when So Gucci came on season 2. However, her son just passed away. Her son was died tragically. She basically put forth So Gucci, JJ and his pigtail butt, and the girls, beautiful, that look just like a combination. They got all the good features of Selena, but they got JJ's mouth and wide eyes. The combination looks good on them, but they don't look good on Pigtail Boy. Just saying. I do believe that Selena, Carlos hit it dead on the head, and why So Gucci, that was her storyline that she reneged on, and why she's now getting ready to get fired. She's trying to blame production for basically editing and splicing things together. If you don't want to be messy, then don't do mess. That's number one. But number two, why are you now trying to reverse the narrative that you should have had control over? It's because you have to go home to Toxic Pigtail Boy? I think that's it. And I think Selena hit it dead on the head. She was with JJ for over a decade. They had all those kids together. He was with her since she was 18 years old. She was actually on reality TV and Bring It. Even before you became a fathom of his eye. What you can't not do is basically only tear down this woman for year after year after year and expect her not to say anything. You called her a second. She basically said, keep your motherfucking name out my mouth, and basically popped you in your mouth. We saw that last season, or was it season before last? You continue to talk about her. You know what time it is. She still got on the show because she's the originator. They wanted her on the show first anyways. And now you're going to have to retract all that stuff that you've been saying about her for the last couple of seasons, because in reality, it appears that your stepkids don't F with you like that, So Gucci, and I'm so sorry, because you were and even your own daughter don't F with you like that, because she even said that you weren't there. While Selena and her kids take up for their mama, whether she had her issues or not, they are now taking up for her. They're siding against her, even though she threw the glass at you. Because I think there's a little bit of truth to you were so invested in taking care of JJ that everybody got tossed to the wayside, even her own child that's really not effing with her like that. That part is sad. And for you to sit there and now don't want to admit to that, you didn't even answer the question directly. Because I firmly believe you and what's her name, Latreisha, are in two very toxic marriages, and I don't think, and y'all are more alike. You are the older version of Latreisha. You the 50-some-year-old Latreisha. Even though JJ may got some coins, but he is domineering, misogynist, narcissist. I think all of those words really describe not only him, but pretty much probably all those other men with the exception of Willie, and I don't know them like that. But what I've seen on the screen is all of them are very much along those narcissistic, weak-ass man bullshit lines, unfortunately for us. And you basically, he not only is alleging defamation, but there's also concerns that a breach of contract. You know what you got hired for. You refuse to answer the questions, not just positively, but just truthfully. We would have respected that. JJ did his dirt. He didn't want, and you should have just basically said you didn't want her on the show because she was going to blow up your spot. He's not just the god-darned man, pigtail boy. He actually has some significant sociopathic, psychological issues that he ain't done no work on. And if you had just been realistic with that and basically admitted to that and see how y'all would move forward, there would have been no controversy, and I think you still would have been on that show. And you still could have sold real estate, right, wrong, or indifferent. You basically knew what you signed up for. You didn't want to present the mess. You only wanted to present the pretty. But you needed to present the balance. Don't renege on what you actually told me and what I know you living through, and then want to flip it and just basically squash all of the mess. You can't have it both ways. You were not hired to be the comedic relief of the damn show. And that's all. You were hired because life is more crazier than fiction. So they didn't have to make up the mess, but you didn't want them to present the reality, the true reality of your life. Life is messy and life will keep lifing, but you can't keep lying and then lying to us and then get mad when you were hired for the mess and then you don't want to present the mess. So girl, get out of our face with that mess and go have many seats. And you and Akeisha got a chance to. Y'all, they actually now have opened up Ferris Street to allow people that have the finances and write proposals to be able to buy those buildings. Now you can actually team up with her and basically sell Ferris Street. You can have the inside tack because the true originator is now, if she's truly wants to be there, now that she's not on the show, she can actually focus on the Holly Foundation. Now they can actually redevelop Ferris Street in the right way without the distractions of the show. Actually, can now you do it if you got that kind of juice? You now can actually have and be participating with no distractions from a reality TV show, the redevelopment, and that could be your show, and get it in writing. If that's what you want to present and not the messiness of your life, fine, then do that. But don't basically play in our face, present a lie, and then expect us to get upset and be up in arms because now you getting ready to get called to the carpet because now you want to renege and you don't want to place blame for where blame is. Not only your jackass of a husband, but your own damn self, girl. As I've said in prior episodes, I like the podcast recaps because I honestly believe that there are other podcasters, YouTubers that do a better job at actually recapping a lot of the reality shows that I watch and a lot of the things that are happening in pop culture. One of those podcasts that I listen to faithfully is Ratchet and Respectful by Demetria L. Lucas. This past week's podcast, which I'll actually embed in the podcast notes, she basically goes over her feelings about the LA fires, the response to people, Twitch's wife's book, as well as the Shade and Jimmy Carter's funeral. I'm like, how do you be shady at a funeral? Well, evidently, the Reverend Dr. Young, who knew Jimmy Carter, basically praised him and shaded Chump at the same time. That was funny. She also goes over a number of things, and those things are actually in particular. And also the read, but in particularly this past week's her take and her perspective on pop culture. As I said, she's very funny, does a very good job, and she actually is a Cancer. She's very in tune to her own overreactions. And also, I admire the relationship she has with both of her parents, in particular her mother. I also, just in general, her take on life. How can you be a podcaster? She's an author, and she at one point moved back to DC after living in Ghana and in South Africa. She's been on some See Some World stuff for the last couple of years and has been able to do that by the fruits of her labor and her creativity. So not only was this past podcast very good in her summary of the LA devastation, but also just in pop culture in general, Ratchet and Respectful is one of those podcasts that you really need to listen to. I'm not sure if I agree with her assessment of the revelation of Twitch. Twitch is a DJ that's better known for his being the DJ, and I think he was a producer on the Ellen DeGeneres show. A couple of years ago, he took his own life. I think I knew at that time that there was some suspicion that it could have been an accidental overdose, but he, like several people, that their lives ended tragically. Not only should you check on your strong friends, he was always really happy, but there was also some murmuring about drug use. The wife who's she's now a widow and left with 3 kids, basically not only published kind of like a tell-all book, but she also evidently published pages from his diary. And it was revealing a box of drugs, sexual abuse as a child. What he portrayed in public was so different than the psychological turmoil that he was living through. Some of that goes along with black folks, like don't need to tell everybody your own business. But at the same, because I would have told you, or if I had the strength to tell you, I would have told you when I was alive. But I don't agree with that. Hopefully it will happen that people will, if you can't talk to your family, that they will find the strength to speak to someone else. But he actually was so used to masking, he would rather end his life instead of dealing with his demons head on. And I think I don't think it was completely malicious, but I would be back on some get back shit if you left me here by myself with 3 freaking kids. However, and probably maybe in some economic dire straits, because if you were the primary breadwinner. But I digress. I'm petty. As I said, I'm petty like that. However, I think that I would also think that she would say hopefully those words would actually give somebody else the strength to, if you can't do it with your own family members, either seek help with somebody non-judgy, somebody that has a better or unbiased view and could give you some insight, instead of saying just get over it or deal with it on your own or deal with it in private. When you live out such out life and you're so gregarious, and people want you to deal with psychological turmoil in private, when that's kind of not really your personality. Why should you hide? Again, just like reality TV stars, why you want to hide the mess as well as the happiness? You can't have it both ways. You actually, if you want me to always happy, and then cover up the mess, that's not life, and that's not reality, and that's not being true and factual to yourself. And that's what I think that's what she may have meant, but what people are trying to be shady about. They say, well, she may have treated that woman negatively, number one, because she was a white girl, and number two, she probably thought you were white trash and probably told you as much, but you were still supposed to respect her. Is that one of the reasons why she basically is up against it, and you didn't encourage her son to be phony? I don't know. Again, I don't know these people. All I would hope that she wasn't, again, on some F-ish, and she basically means for these words to actually help somebody else to deal with their ish, just in case they don't feel strong enough or don't think their family is strong enough or have the emotional IQ to be able to help them work through some of the mess. You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happier you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of F.A.A.F.O has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. What, y'all? What?